I'll get into that in a second. Remember, David Wild was on here, and I said,
was he?
I'm not going to have, not interested in any, hey, we need to have an open, honest dialogue about race. And I go, okay, but it never happens. And then he said, oh, what's wrong with that? And it's like, well, nothing's wrong with it. It's just, why don't we just talk about leprechauns? If it's not going to get anything done, it's not going to get anything done. And, I watched the forum, the 1 hour long thing. And all I said to David Wild was, this is fine, but I would like a discussion on the black family disintegrating, and if that comes up, then I'll apologize. But I don't think the president's going to bring that up.
That wasn't addressed?
And David Wild sat right there, and he said, oh, he brings it up, and he will bring it up. And I said, okay, well, with an hour-long open dialogue where everything's on the table and all we're trying to do is figure out the scourge of young black men getting shot by themselves and by cops and drugs and schools failing and communities failing. I would like it if the family being destroyed came up, since that is the number one. And everyone always goes like, they say, sometimes people tweet me, it's like, what's the family have to do with the homeless situation? I have a schizophrenic brother-in-law. Mm-hmm. He lives with his brother in a guest house that his brother built him on his property because he has an intact family system. He does not wander the streets of South Central throwing punches in the air and off his meds. He has a family structure that has taken it upon themselves because he grew up in that environment. They're not rich. Right. They just grew up in an environment where people were taught, hey, that's your brother. Now you have to look out for him. Lynette takes care of him as well. I take care of him financially, and I get him new hats as well, right, because when you're crazy, it looks like somebody took your hat and soaked it in buttermilk overnight and then parked a Buick on it and then had a crow drop it on, set it on your head from about 4 inches above, just dropped it, and then you walk around, and then I can tell from outer space that you're crazy.
So the hat game is not where it should be.
Well, it will be.
I got together a bunch of hats and gave it to him, and now he does. But look,
very benevolent.
What is it? Okay, imagine the utopia if ever, and it's not going to work. Look, nothing works every time. There's some people that are so far gone, there's nothing we can do. But imagine if every single one of those homeless people that is now bivouacking in Los Angeles and starting these massive pop-up communities of homeless. Thunderdome downtown. Imagine if every single one of those people had an intact family, a brother who was a professional, who said, I'll take you in. I will build you a little loft above my garage. You'll have a little apartment. You can live in there. I will make sure that you're on your meds, and so on and so forth. Well, look, I'm not saying that homeless would be solved. I'm saying that group would go from, let's just say, I'll give you a round number. Let's just say there were 10,000 people. I think we'd be down to less than 200 if everybody had that structure and that system. Well,
I think most people would agree with that.
Okay. And it's the same with the violence, the inner city, and the crumbling, decaying families that are going on. And there's white versions of this. There's everything versions of this. The groups that are successful in this country, and not even by and large, just across the line, are family-oriented. Family, then education, but the family's there.
Go hand in hand.
Okay, so this is open town hall about folks getting shot, cops shooting people, but also cops shooting people who are not used to an authority figure in their house. The parent, listen, Lynette said to me today, why does Philly cheesesteak only listen to you? Because like I said, he's running around he's got 5 flip-flops in his mouth and 1 up his ass because he can't hold any more in his mouth. And he's doing laps around the sofa, and everyone Benny Hill style is chasing him around. And then they yell for me. And they yell for me to come in and yell at the dog. And then I walk in and I go, hey, Phil, now, drop! And his mouth opens and everything falls out of his mouth because I'm a male, because I'm the authority, because that's my role in the home. And that is missing from the black community. And all I want is our black president to touch on that as well as a cornucopia of other problems, including police and their brutal tactics. That's what I would like.
Right. I'm sure this is not indicative of every case, but the lack of male figure in the home is not going to change. Like, this most recent example, the one that got a lot of attention, the guy being shot in his car while he was, by the accounts that we've seen on the girlfriend's video, just kind of sitting there doing what the cops said. That's an extreme example, of course. It's not every example.
That's why Brian is here. But first off,
well, it's worth mentioning is what sort of set this whole thing off.
No, what set it all? Well,
this most recent.
First was the guy standing in front of the liquor store, Alton Sterling, who has a history of wrestling with cops. He was arrested before for wrestling with a cop and trying to get his gun out, who was not obeying whatever the commands the officers were making, and then it escalated into that. But I will bet you that guy may not have had a good authority figure at home, based on the fact that he was 40 years old and selling, bootleg DVDs of The Princess Bride.
Wait a second.
Let's make it Scarface.
Okay.
Well, I'm just
inconceivable.
He may have started with Princess Bride and then realized he's moving a lot more units of Scarface. I would
know your demo, man.
Yes.
I learned that in Shark Tank.
Listen. Certainly not in that case. Mark Garagos just walked out of the studio, and that guy's rip shit that he can't get any coverage over what took place in Mesa, Arizona, about the guy being executed laying in the hotel room and the hallway, the floor, unarmed and on his belly. That guy may have had a dad who took care of him. I don't think. No, that's a bad cop shooting. There's plenty of bad cop shootings. That's it. It's insane to argue that having millions of guys walking around with guns and approach cars all the time are not going to make some bad calls. They're going to make bad calls. They'll make bad calls. Look, we had 2 Mexican women driving a Toyota pickup truck and delivering newspapers, and the LAPD put 10,000 rounds into the back of the window. Okay. Is that bad police work? I would say yes. So. I would say yes. Were they male? No. Were they black? No. Were they working? Yes. Did they have guns, or were they have a long, extensive criminal history? I don't think so. I think they were just hardworking folks out literally making the rounds with the Herald Examiner or the Green Sheet, 2 defunct papers from around here. Well, what I'm saying is cops make bad calls. Right. That was a bad call. That was first, nobody died, but I don't know how you can put 100 plus rounds into the back of a bunch of a tin can and glass and not have anyone die. But okay, that would have been a tragedy. That would have been a bad call. That really had nothing to do with anything other than them being freaked out all the time. But either way, it happens. And I get that. But the bigger issue is more people dying at the hands of people that look like them, which is something that I'd like to address. And so what I said to David Wild is, look, all I'm looking for is, as long as we're having an open dialogue, let's really talk about the root source here.
Sometimes less is more.
What is causing this at this alarming rate? And good news is we both have the same goal in mind, which is less death. Yeah. All right. So there were a couple instances, I watched the entire thing, where the president was asked sort of an open question of sort of what do we do in these communities, and he was able to list what he thought should be done in these communities. Gary's got there were a couple of them, but I said here's an opportunity to talk about the family and other things. By the way, here we go.
One of the interesting things, Clifton, that I know Chief Brown said in Dallas, but I hear this from chiefs and rank and file all across the country, is that we expect police to solve a whole range of societal problems that we ourselves have neglected.
I'm with him.
So, and I mentioned this in my remarks at the memorial in Dallas. We have communities without jobs, with
there's one.
Substandard schools.
2.
Where the drug trade is so often considered the only way to make money.
3.
Communities that are inundated with guns.
4.
where there's a lack of mental health services or drug treatment services.
And,
Wait.
no more?
No, you got to keep rolling the tape.
That was where we.
I'm sure.
Is there more? There's got to be. He's got to finish it.
Nope.
All right, well, go find out the master file. You can play me the next one where somebody asked him, what are we going to do overall here? And we'll see if we can get to the bottom of this.
I'm sure he gets right to your point.
The single greatest cause of death for young black men between the ages of 18 and 35 is homicide.
All right.
And that's crazy.
That is.
That is crazy. And so we have to acknowledge that.
All right, we do. Now
And
what do we
that
do?
means
Oh, here it comes.
that we can't put the burden on the police alone.
Here it comes.
It is going to require investments in those communities. It is going to require making sure the schools work. It's going to require having after-school programs. And then it is going to require us to look at things like guns. Now, this is tough.
Okay.
He's teasing us.
Okay, anything? Is there a family? Look, Sonny theoretically can have access to firearms. Everyone can have access to firearms. As a matter of fact,
That's a waste of my time?
is he going to shoot his buddy Jensen from the basketball team?
Hope not.
This notion of...
We all know Sonny doesn't shoot well because he's from the basketball team.
That's right. How dare you? But he's got great handles. The point is the guns, the schools, the whole that thing. But what do we do with the 14 or 15-year-old who decides it's a good idea to shoot somebody? That's the problem. And he went on to say that it's easier to get a gun than a computer or a book.
Oh.
Did you aware of that?
No, it wasn't the case for me.
Aren't books free?
There are big warehouses in almost every city.
Yeah.
Well, if the library would stay
Yeah,
open
right.
later, like David Wild suggested.
Right. All right. So I think David Wild was wrong on that because I sat here and told him that he was not going to address the family. Look, I'm just saying, make it one of the 5 talking points.
Right.
Make it school. Make it mental health. Make it, and first off, the family's the hub, and the violence and the drugs and the engaging and selling drugs and the bad schooling and all that.
Everything you brought up is legitimate, but they're all branches off of this other just tree trunk, which we need to address.
Which is, Dr. Drew's kids aren't going to sell drugs. They'll do the pharmaceutical white collar stuff, but they're not going to sell drugs because the family's
Intact.
there. So that's part of my thought on the open forum, but I don't think it's going to come up.
Yeah, I think David Wild was right in the sense. Well, I know he was because in the past Obama has brought that issue up, and it's good that he did. But here is a prime opportunity. I mean, literally a 1-to-1 ratio. This is this is the best opportunity to bring it up, and didn't come up.
And you have no one to please anymore. You're done.
Yeah, pay the house money.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's clear that the whatever services for the mental this or the rehab centers or the drug counselors or the schools with the better teachers staying open later, that's been discussed. It doesn't seem to be implemented. I don't know who's in charge of implementing it, but it never gets implemented, at least to the satisfaction. It's never going to get implemented to the point where it stops this because it all starts earlier in the family. But look, that's the way I feel, and I have a conspiracy theory.
Ooh. Let me get my tinfoil hat.
This is not like you.
I know. You got the guns one there yet, Gary? Because I found this to be sort of...
Go ahead.
I like to hear it because this is now bordering on a lie. But here we go.
In some of these very poor communities, there's more violence. There's more violence. You've got young people in the south side of Chicago, maybe half a mile from where I live, where my house is, in my mother-in-law's neighborhood, where you hear gunshots every night. You have 14, 15-year-old kids who have firearms. It's easier to get a gun than it is to get access to a computer or a book.
Wait a minute.
And if we're going to do...
He said access, like a computer at school or somebody who has a computer. Not even
house.
buy a computer, just use a computer, and then access to a book.
Right.
A book? I don't like books. Don't get me wrong. I like guns more than I like books, but access to a book?
I understand his point, and it is legitimate that it's too easy to get access to a gun, but that is stretching, that's stretching credulity. It's hyperbole to the highest order.
And the way he said it, it seemed like he regretted it as it was coming out of his mouth.
It was a bit hyperbolic.
Book. I don't know.
Oh, he said it more than once.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, okay, there's your open dialogue. It's easier to get a gun than it is to get a book. Don't believe, as I told David Wild, just don't believe that's going to move anything along. That's all. All right. Now, there are conversations that could, but those aren't going to take place.
Unless you're in a gun factory who is run by an illiterate. But that's an extreme example.
Books. That's a bizarre one. All right. I'll give a little love, and then I got a commercial I want to play for you guys that I like quite a bit. First, TrueCar. Somebody can help out there. 500,000 pre-owned vehicles available at TrueCar certified dealerships nationwide, whether you're looking to buy new or used. Forgot my conspiracy theory. All right.
Write that down.
Be prepared to be pissed off, people, about my conspiracy theory. Anyway, whether you're looking to buy new, whether you're looking to buy used, you see what others pay for the car, find out the fair price, get connected to your certified dealer. Enjoy a quick, easy buying experience. Easy. TrueCar users save an average $3,279 off MSRP. Buy new, buy used. Just visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app. That's TrueCar.com. TrueCar, baby. Get the app or just go to TrueCar. I always just sort of look at everything from a psychodynamic standpoint for the most part. I kind of go, what is this person thinking? Or what is the energy here? Or how's this working? Or what's going on? We all have feelings about things. Like, I'm not against welfare for people that need it, but I'm against handouts because I see how debilitating it is for people. Everyone thinks it's a cruel side of me, but really it's just a side of experience to growing up. And I saw how devastating it was to my mom and my dad to some degree to sort of have a life where they were just plotting, thinking of how do I get free shit, basically? How do I get some free food? Let's go down to the church. The church is having spaghetti night. Let's go to the church. It's like, that's for poor people and homeless people. We have a home, It's like my mom was just constantly like a catfish, and not in a good way where she was online describing herself as buxom and hot and trying to
young men to come from miles.
It's not the good kind of catfish, but literally like just skimming the bottom of life's pond, trying to find out anything that somebody. We used to go trash picking. I was just thinking about this the other day. Thursday night was trash night. That was trash picking night. We'd head out back before all these bins.
Never heard this.
Oh yeah, back before all the bins with the this is green lawn trimmings and that's recycling and that's trash. Everything was just pulled out to the curb. The greatest humiliation I ever really experienced is when about once every 7 years they had the old sheet metal galvanized bonderized trash cans that made that horrible noise and the
sparks.
Eventually the bottom would just rot out because all the gooey whatever it would just fall.
In the gutter and
just sit there in the rain and at some point. When the garbage man made the old Yeller decision for your trash can, like where at some point he was done emptying it, he just chucked the whole thing in because the whole thing technically was garbage.
The trash can became trash.
It was sort of like somebody coming around and putting your pet down for you when you just didn't have the guts or dignity to do it. Like seeing a dog with, ulcers that were bleeding, dragging itself in a circle on the front lawn. Like somebody just went, I'm
made the call.
Somebody's got to be an adult here. The garbage man would just chuck. Like, you'd go out there one day and, like, what happened to the cans? It's like, he put an end to it. He put an end to
the misery.
He put the can out of its misery. We didn't have the money or the guts or the dignity to do it ourselves, to go buy some new trash cans, but he did it.
Last moments with Paley, and Adam's like feeding it chocolate. Like,
that's right.
You're a good pail. You're a good pail.
And it would flap open. I'm going to miss you. So, we'd go trash picking on Thursday nights because people would throw out all sorts of, hey, it's a Stratego game with only 9 pieces missing and it smells like weird mildew. But let's go do it. So people have their own energy with things from their past that colors them as adults. I realize the hand things out victimization thing is something I bristle when I hear about it because I saw what it did to my mom, and I realized she never realized her potential because she was in give me this mode, and she slid into a depression. Yes.
Back to dumpster diving for a second. You must have had to have gone to other neighborhoods because, number one, people in your neighborhood, I can't imagine, had a lot of great things that are thrown away. Number two, imagine, I can't, for myself, I can't, maybe not for your mom, I can only imagine the shame of like going to the neighbor's trash and being caught, you know what I mean? Like, hey, is that Adam Carolla? No!
Yeah, it's not hipster upcycling.
Yeah.
You went to other neighborhoods, I have to assume.
We lived in this kind of neighborhood, which was really weird, which was, it was a fairly nice neighborhood, and then soon as you crossed one street, it just turned.
Okay.
Dove.
Quick. Right where my mom's house was. It just turned. So
that was the one.
Our neighbors, our houses, our immediate neighbors were crap. So we wouldn't walk down our driveway and turn right. That would be more bad houses.
Right.
Turn left and walk 100 yards and you're into some lush, nice homes. Not Beverly Hills or Bel Air, but nicer, regular, nicer homes. I don't know how it worked. We're just right on the Mason-Dixon line of that. And as far as my mom, we would take the Graviches, the neighbors, and we'd kind of make a thing out of it because they were in the shitty house to the right of ours. And we would just start walking and we would just start collecting. And we had a few decent paydays. Like I found like an electronic motor boat that was missing a thing, but the motor was in there, and I could take the motor out and muss around with it. And there would be a sofa on occasion. My mom, every sofa was a new sofa because she'd just tuck in a sheet and it was a new sofa.
Reupholstered it.
Yeah. And so I got it probably as a vestige of my past with the free lunch programs and the welfare and the food stamps and stuff. I just got this chip on my shoulder about the freebies and sort of the damage it can do in terms of people not realizing their potential and understanding that there was a lot more inside them than maybe they were aware of, but we never were going to unlock that or realize that because we didn't give them a chance to go out and fight because they were fed just enough empty calories to stay on the sofa. The psychodynamic part of that I have with President Obama is he didn't know his dad. He wasn't a part of his life. And he overcame a lot of that, obviously, went off to have an amazing career, and now second-term president of the United States.
Was the same with Bill Clinton? Was this a similar type of story? His dad wasn't around or something?
I think he had like 13 dads.
Okay.
He had more than enough dads.
Okay, and a surplus?
Maybe too many dads. But yeah. The
Budget
same
surplus and dad surplus.
Same thing.
Coincidence?
And I wonder if, on a psychodynamic level, if that's something you're pushing against. Like you're going, I did it without this. You can do it. Why? Or I feel like I'm going to overcompensate or be a little defensive about it. Because when people were raised by their dads and they love their dads and they see what an incredible impact their dad, positive role and impact their dad made, they espouse that. They get on a mountaintop and they talk about it just like for good and for bad. Whatever. If when you have a teacher that's really positive in your life and they go, oh, Mr. Carlton, this guy got hold of me. And so that's why I'm so pro blah, blah, blah. I wonder if that on a psychodynamic level is the reason why it's not discussed as much as it could be.
Which is weird because when you put it out there like that, my first instinct would be that would be the first thing you'd discuss because you're the example. You're not being hypocritical.
Well, there's two ways these things manifest themselves. It's sort of the raised by an alcoholic, never touch a drop, raised by the alcoholic. I'm on my third marriage. The first two were alcoholics. And this guy's, where's Bob? He's at the bar. Oh.
Bob Angelou?
Someone's got to tell him we're trying to take pictures. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay.
See, there's two ways I could go with welfare. I could go with, hey, my mom got welfare. Hey, we were proud people. Hey, she was a good woman.
That's what we do.
Hey, this is what we do. And it worked for me. And that, therefore, I could be a champion of welfare. What, not necessarily wrong. I'm just saying you can go two.
Look at me. I came from the ashes.
You can go two directions on any of these.
Either extreme.
But you rarely ride down the middle.
Well, it's
you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
the Alex P. Keaton example, right? Parents are super liberal and you're super, conservative. It's you can go either direction.
yeah, or you become super liberal too. But
That's what I'm saying.
it's rarely I have no thoughts about welfare.
Correct. That makes sense.
That's interesting to me.
Was that the conspiracy theory?
It's a theory.
It's a theory. It's not a conspiracy theory, but it's a theory
Okay.
that's never really
It's an
been.
insight.
It's never been floated.
Gotcha.
Yeah.